All right, and we're live. Bear and Balance, a little pregame. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We got a kind of a throwing this together here, like 8:30. We're sure if we're gonna go 9, 8:30. Lester had like Geek Squad appointments, so I
I
wasn't sure
did.
what was happening there. Like, what was the problem with the computer, Lester?
It's crashed a couple times. It's the this time it was the fan was bad. I had to get the
Okay.
fan fixed. I knew what it was. They ended up putting in a secondary fan, so hopefully now my desktop will be perfectly fine because I prefer writing on there. I don't like using a laptop. I have gigantic fat fingers. I can't stand a laptop.
Well, speaking of fans, look at that segue. Joined by Brenda Webber tonight, and Brenda, you were at camp today.
I was.
So before we get into recording the podcast, what was your overall impressions of camp?
Of what?
Of camp? Well, just
Oh,
Halas
camp-
Hall being, yeah.
It was amazing and wonderful. Everyone was so happy and so excited. And it was, I mean, I guess 9 o'clock isn't that early, but for not allowing coffee in there, like I felt everyone was pretty peppy. So
Did they sell coffee? They sell beer. Did
They
they
do
sell
sell
coffee
beer.
there?
no coffee. No, I just had to drink some real bad hotel coffee real quick on the way.
Yeah, I grabbed so I was staying in Deerfield while I was there, which is I honestly I think it's literally just like office parks because
Yeah.
I don't really think there's a lot else there. And I was staying in a hotel that was in an office park.
Oh, okay.
It was not like great. I mean, the hotel was fine, but like this is not like real Chicago, stay. And so the first day I drove up and I'm thinking like, oh well, I mean, it's right next to a mall. There's gonna be a Starbucks, right? The closest Starbucks was in the Target, and so I walk in the Target and they don't open until 8. What coffee shop doesn't open until 8 o'clock?
No, okay. I stayed in Lincolnshire and
Okay.
all the Starbucks around there were inside of other places. It was baffling to me.
Yeah, I ended up getting. I don't. It wasn't in Lincolnshire, but it was close to there. Whereas where I found an actual like drive-through Starbucks for the next 2 days because I was there for 3 days. So the first 2 days was, or the first day was a total miss, and I had to do practice without coffee. And then the next 2 days I was slugging it in the parking lot,
Oh,
because you can't take it on the bus.
exactly. Yes.
So I'm
That's-
like chugging espresso, and Lester's like, "What are you doing?"
Getting
Open
ready.
container, can't bring it on. And then they made you dump your water. Like I had a water bottle. I always carry this giant water bottle around with me. And I had like cold water with ice in it. And they made me dump it out to go through the security line.
Oh no.
Yeah. So then I got like the, room temperature water in the Walter Payton Center.
I didn't
It's
even
tough life. Tough
It
life.
is. It is. I didn't even think to get water. I was too excited to get to the practice fields that I just showed up and like it wasn't until an hour later I was like, "My God, I am thirsty."
It's hot. Yeah, you gotta come prepared.
It was a little toasty. I think I lucked out honestly on the weather compared to other people.
And you went to the far bleacher, right?
Yes.
Which that saved us. The second day Lester was there with me would have been my third day.
That's the shade bleacher.
That's the
yeah.
shade in the far field. See, we were up at the top where they put that little banister. I don't know, fabric or whatever to kind of give you a little shade. So and then we stood up and we got like a breeze coming from the.
It wasn't bad for us. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, we lucked out. The first day you were there though, Lester. I mean, I was pretty hot. That bleacher was pretty toasty.
Yeah, it was toasty, but it's Bears practice, man. I mean, we're expecting it to be hot, humid, sweaty, sticky. That's football practice. That's what it's all about.
Got to sweat a little bit with the guys, right? All right. So we're gonna cut a podcast. Are you ready for that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, let's get this going. Let me get my notes out.
Oh, you got notes and everything?
Well, a little behind the scenes. I try to write down the times that we do different break points so that I can edit quickly or that you can edit quickly. Yeah. So little inside baseball there. So
that's smart.
All right. Welcome to Bear and Balance. I'm Jeff Berckes, a writer for Windy City Gridiron, and I'm joined, as always, by Lester A. Wiltfong Jr. Lester, we were not at camp, but we have a special guest tonight. You've survived a visit with the Geek Squad
I did.
for your computer, but how is everything else going for you?
Everything's good for me. It's a I saw all the reports today from Bears camp, and I can't wait to hear what Brenda has to say about what she saw firsthand out there today.
Well, we have Hopium Den veteran
Brenda
Brenda Webber. Yes, so she was on one of the Hopium Den episodes, or a lot of them, as I cut them together and rehashed different topics. And Brenda also got off 2 of the best jokes during the Hopium Den series, and really killed her appearance there. So she went to camp today. She is back. Brenda, how are you? Welcome to Bear and Balance.
Oh, thank you so much for having me again. I'm very happy to be here. And camp was so amazing.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit. Like, we were there earlier this year. We had an up and down experience with
Yes.
our run in with security on our last day there. And then Lester, I haven't given you grief about this yet. They summoned a storm the day that you were supposed to come back to Halas Hall last Sunday,
Yeah.
and they canceled practice because they heard that you were coming back and they didn't want to deal with you. So I have to say, like, you're controlling the weather now.
That was the deal. They would much rather deal with Mother Nature than deal with the wrath of Lester. I was going to go after him, but
Yeah.
I am back there on the 20th next Sunday. So we'll see if the weather cooperates. I'll be there.
I mean, if you are able to summon another thunderstorm, there's something's brewing. Something's happening here. So, well, Brenda, what was your experience like overall at camp? Did you go to the Walter Payton Center? Did you stand on the autograph line? Like, what was it that you took? Walk us through what you did today.
So, showed up not too late. We're on a little bit on the outside, walking in, but we didn't take anything with us. So we did get to cut through the express line, didn't have any bags. So that was actually really nice, but walked in, kind of saw everything that was going on, hit up the pro shop, because some 12-year-old really wanted a Justin Fields jersey. So he's really mad I didn't bring him back sneakers. So anyway, the jersey he's excited about. So we did that and really just went right straight to the fields to get seats and make sure I was in the right spot to get the best views. But I mean, just walking in, everyone was so cheery and so peppy and just so just so excited and happy to be there. I will say I did the 360 camera view and I went to hit the Heisman, and right as they were filming, and the guy was like, "Hey, keep both feet on the ground." And it threw off my whole groove. And then the rest of it bad. I was like, I'm not doing it again. It's fine.
I don't know how Lester feels, but any sort of 360-degree camera doesn't make a big guy feel particularly good about wanting to participate in something like that. It's like, I don't need to see it from that angle. Thank you very much.
Like, for me, it has to be a specific angle, the right way. Otherwise, I look like I'm just, even bigger than I really am. So it's the 360 camera. No, hell no.
Directly head on. Yes. That would be great. Nothing profile. That would be fantastic.
Just keep it up here. I mean, let's not go down there. We're good. So that's cool though.
I had to, in the 360 camera, they were like, "Do you want a football or pom-poms?" And I was like, "I'll take a football." And then he handed me the little one and I was like,
"Come on."
Yeah. I'll take the youth football.
Oh no. So when you're able to see camp now, there's a lot to try to take in, and even us where we're trying to go, we're trying to take pictures and not video, again, for the record. But we're trying to cover a little bit, and even between Lester and I, it's hard to see everything. So if there's some stuff that you didn't see, don't feel too bad about it. But I want to ask you, go through the categories and see what you picked up today. So there's a lot of talk in this offseason, obviously, about the offensive line, but it seems like it's starting to settle down a little bit. Looks like Braxton Jones is taking a lot of the reps with the first team. Again, Riley Reef shifting over to the right side. Is that what you saw today as well?
Yeah, there was a lot of movement. Is no pads for practice. So just a lot of rotations. But I thought the O-line was doing pretty good, especially at the beginning. I felt the offense was just hot. Sam Mustipher was a little shaky.
As he is.
What? I know. I'm
okay. That's okay.
shocked as much as you guys are. Saw a couple people get past him. But Justin stayed pretty solid in the pocket overall. Bradley Reef, go Hawkeyes. That was really, really cool to see. And I mean, he's just a big dude. He's just a big guy that takes up a lot of space on that O-line. So no one was really getting past him either.
I'll jump in here, Lester. I heard from my mom today. So my mom was also at camp. Number one Bears fan. Episode 10 of the Hopium Den out on Wednesday. Yeah, so she made her debut, and
That's amazing.
She was also there today, and she said that. So, and again, number one Bears fan. She apparently yelled at Riley Reef, "Go Hawks!" and he kind of looked and smiled and gave a wave. And then I guess she yelled to Tevin, "So happy you're back out here," like very supportive. And apparently he like gave her a smile and waved. So she really, and was probably yelling at Larry Borum because she really likes Larry Borum. So
Okay,
yeah, she loves it. She set up right at that first spot where you get in with those chairs, right? For people that get a little special treatment there. So she was front row, and so that's right next to the offensive line, which is exactly where she wants to be. Transports her back to watching her boy, I guess. So anyway, Riley Reef, Hawkeye, she got a little go Hawks.
This is a very Iowa centric show today. What's going on?
Yeah. More Hawkeyes, the better.
We're taking over.
All right, it's all good. It's okay.
We lost one Hawkeye on the offensive line in the offseason, but we got him back. Got a different one back.
That's fine. Got to keep one on there at least.
What about, you mentioned Justin Fields. Let's move on to him. So obviously it's really easy to watch and get just your eyes just drawn to just wanting to watch Justin Fields when you're at these practices, right? It's hard to honestly do anything else because you want to see how he looks. And, he's obviously the centerpiece of everything. Everybody there wants, his autograph. Everybody there wants, to see if he's improving. So you said that he had, the offense had a good day. Does that include Justin particularly, and what kind of stood out to you about that?
Yes. So Justin did great. Again, at the beginning, he had some that he was just airing out like towards the very beginning of practice, when they were like on the far side before they started like actually playing a game. Well, game.
The 11s,
yeah. But he did really good. His accuracy is just chef's kiss. So amazing watching that. And a couple of throws he had to Mooney, he had him to the fullback and Sharp. I mean, just right where they could get to him.
So go ahead, Lester.
So today he was missing Harry, he was missing Pringle, he was missing was Pettis out there? Was Pettis? I mean, he was missing some guy.
Valus Jones was
Valus
out.
Jones was out. So he was doing this with guys that are really fighting for a roster spot. And then you said he still was sharp with these backups, so to speak.
Yeah. Actually, Sharp did excellent. I thought he was really a standout. But no, Justin Fields. I mean, he was placing it where it needed to go. Towards the end, there were some scrambles where he just couldn't quite find anyone downfield. There was a couple times where, there was a guy that may have been open, but it's okay. But other than that, I mean, as long as he had time for the most part, except for Sam Mustipher, and he was getting down there. So I thought he had a pretty good practice. I know I did scroll Twitter, and Twitter is very torn on the kind of day that Fields had.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's just kind of Twitter naturally, right? Is that there's always going to be a reaction. Maybe they're actually there, and then there's
Mhm.
reactions off of the reactions, and
Mhm.
people get kind of run with that. One of the things that we've been hearing about is that one of the emphasis this year with Luke Getsy is that they're actually practicing scramble drills, where he's breaking the pocket and the receivers are working on trying to get open, which was
Mhm.
not something that they practiced last year, which kind of blew my mind when that was revealed by whoever that was revealed by, that that was not something that was practice, the scramble drill. And that's why it always looked terrible. It was always what guys never really got open when
Yeah.
Justin would break the pocket. Did you see that drill today where they were maybe on purpose kind of scrambling and trying to get open, or is that was that not part of today's practice?
Um, with everything that was going on, I mean, I very well could have missed
Sure.
it. Maybe the when he did scramble, it was on purpose. I know he was practicing what looked, that one. I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut on what I saw him practice because I don't want
Um,
anyone to know that one. All
Oh,
right. Hmm.
we do get one of the comments we've already had is from a Detroit Lions fan who likes to come in and say Detroit versus everybody. And
Oh,
so, there is competition
okay.
that
Yeah.
is watching this. So we
What's his
have to be
name?
careful.
I'll fight him.
Don, the Lions fan is here
Okay.
and likes
Let's
to
go,
say
Don.
Detroit versus everybody. So
No, I thought he did great. There was a couple times again he could have been practicing the scramble drills, and if that was the case, it would make sense they didn't practice them last year because they weren't as clean or great as what I saw at the beginning of practice. So guys weren't really getting open. But I will say, the second half of practice, the defense really stepped up too.
that's what I
So
heard.
they also did, I thought, a great job, just breaking up passes and got to fields a couple times. So you give a little, get a little on that one.
That's good because those guys are Bears too. It's good that those
Right.
guys are showing up. And another thing about Justin Fields, what we saw when we were there last week, and stuff I've been seeing is he's taking a lot of the check downs. He's going short a little more than he did last year during the season. And some fans, of course, look at that as a negative, but I kind of see that as growth. I mean, that's growth from him as a quarterback, understanding when he can kind of, when it's not there, let's just
Mhm.
check it down. There's no point in taking a sack, and he took way too many sacks last season. So I think if this is part of the growth of Justin Fields and he's going to go with 4 more checkdowns, I'm okay with that.
Mhm. I mean, you have to practice it all, right?
Exactly.
No, I felt like it was fine. So
Yeah. Well, I think most practices have been kind of a little bit of a seesaw, a little bit up and down. Sound like Justin was on point early, and then maybe the defense caught up towards the end. But
mhm.
overall, a pretty good practice for him.
Yeah.
So, and then again, it's a brand new offense. Offensive line is now starting to solidify, which I think is going to help in these practices. Now that they have the 5 probably that they're going to continue to go forward with. They're getting closer to the first game. They're in time. They've got first preseason game. They've got time to kind of get everything going. So we'll take a quick break here. And then on the other side of this, we're going to hear from Brenda on her favorite offensive and defensive players from today's practice. All right, we're back. So, Brenda, when the Bears offense was doing well, I
Mhm.
mean, you can say Justin Fields, but bringing up somebody else if you want. You kind of mentioned Tajay Sharp, but who
Mhm.
would you say was your top offensive performer that you saw in camp today?
I would say Sharp. I mean, he really did have some great. I think he had the top play of the day. Just toe tapping in the end zone. Someone else did that too.
I think I saw Tongas maybe where maybe he was like on the sideline on a red zone drill like
Yeah,
number 46. I feel like I
yeah,
saw something with him
yeah. It was. That's exactly who it was. That was a video I saw and totally did not post at
because you
all.
follow the rules.
I followed the
No.
rules.
I could have swore I saw a few videos from you out there.
Just one.
Was there a couple? Just okay. Just
Just the one. Just the one.
it
I
was
went for the
Justin
rules
Fields.
one.
Yeah, that's okay.
Don't post this anywhere. I don't want anyone to know that.
Your secret is safe with us.
Thank
We are
you.
no snitches. We are no snitches.
Yeah.
I'm sure that Larry Mayer is not watching this tonight.
That's good. That's good.
So you mentioned Sharp, and Sharp's a guy that a lot of Bears fans aren't thinking a lot about, but this is a 4-year pro. He's had some success with the Titans. I think last year kind of
Only
split
been in
time.
4 years.
Yeah, I think for 4 or 5
it feels
years.
like
I mean,
he's been around for longer. Hey, sorry.
It does. I mean, I know he's a pro. I mean, he's still one of these guys that's trying to fight for a roster spot. But between him and Pettis, and there's a couple other guys, David Moore. One of these guys that they're not expecting to kind of step up is going to kind of probably take up and take that 5th or 6th receiver spot, especially now with Harry out. So it's good to see a guy like Sharp step up today.
Yeah, no, he did well. At least there were 2 touchdowns on either side of the end zone for him that were really good. I mean, Mooney did great also, but I felt like Sharp deserved the shout out today.
Yeah, like Mooney is gonna be the number 1 guy. Velus Jones obviously is gonna be on this roster. Byron Pringle, I don't know what he's fighting right now. I don't know what Velus is fighting either. But, so those guys need to get back to some degree here before games start. That's 3. You've got Equanimous St. Brown. See, I tried to help Taylor earlier today, and now I can't.
And now you're
say it
messing
live.
up. I know.
ESB, he's gonna have one of those spots. And then you have Harry, who's going to likely start the year on IR. He's going to be on the injured list to some degree. And then you have right? So a guy like Tajay Sharp, who I feel like is a guy that I have had in my fantasy lineup, in like week 12, like bye week fill-in kind of guy, like because he's getting targets.
Same. Yeah.
So I mean, he's a guy that's been around. So that's when he signed him, like, oh, okay, Tajay Sharp, he could stick on this receiving core. Some of those guys are going to have to play, but a lot of them keep getting hurt.
So it's nice to know that if in the event we have more than just the one guy.
Yeah. You need more than one wide receiver in the year 2022, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't the 1950s where you can kind of get away with that.
Right. Especially how we started out with, this season, just so uncertain. So it's nice to know that, we got some guys.
But the connection with Field and Mooney is real. I mean, that's something we saw. That's what a lot of the guys talk about, and that's what you saw today too. I mean, there's something there with those 2 guys.
Yeah, Justin actually had a really nice sidearm pass to Mooney. That was really good, and unfortunately, that's all I can remember at this time about that pass. But again, the great thing about Bears camp is like there's so much going on, but at the same time, it's like I want to watch it all at the same time, and you're trying to absorb as much as you can.
Yeah, I think
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I think that's why we have to realize that they film practice and they go back and they watch it. Like that's what happens after we all get on the buses and go back home and figure out what we're going to do the rest of the day. Those guys are going in and watching what just happened, and then they're taking it pretty slow to realize, oh, okay, yeah, hey, you missed that read, or hey, this was a good throw, or yeah, I like how you work through that progression or whatever. And we're trying to see 22 players at one go. It just doesn't work like that. It's not, you can't do that even when you're sitting down watching football. That's why we go back and we rewatch games, but we don't have the benefit of going back and rewatching practice. So you're doing your best to try to take in what you can.
Yeah, if only I could have recorded more videos.
Yeah, then you could have gone back and watched them.
Next time.
Yeah. Lester, did you have one?
I was going to say the same thing as you. I mean, even the coaches, like you said, the coaches can't watch everything at once. So to expect fans that are out there trying to take it in, there's just no way. So you try and you pick and choose what you want to focus on each given play. And like you said earlier, it's hard not to watch Justin Fields. He's a commanding presence out there. The hopes of all us Bears fans are riding on his shoulders. So it's hard not to really want to focus on Justin Fields. So when he does good, it's exciting. And of course, when he does bad, that's all over Twitter. And that's where you get the up and down, because it's the extreme. But I think he's right on time. I mean, he's progressing how he should at this point in camp. I'm happy with what's going on with Justin Fields.
Yeah, I put out a Twitter poll. Our friend Jonathan Wood had made a statement that was like, Really, Jonathan? I don't know that I agree with that. And it was that Roquan was the face of the franchise. And
Oh.
so I put out a Twitter poll and I said, all right, Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks are gone. Who do you believe is the current face of the franchise? And that's all I said. I didn't try to define it any further. And I
Mhm,
put Roquan, Justin, or other.
mhm.
And we got 983 votes. 90% went to Justin Fields.
Yeah.
9% went to Roquan and 1% went to other. And the others were, like I said, comment below. And someone said, Staley, the mascot, which I thought
Oh,
I like that. It's not the right answer, but I like it.
was that had to be Patty saying
It
that one?
wasn't. I
Oh,
should
okay.
tag Patty. She
You
would
should.
love that answer. So I think that I think a lot of people think, well, the best player needs to be the face of the franchise and vice versa. It's not always true,
Mm,
and I think that as of right now, Roquan is likely the best player on this team. Justin has not proven that out on the field yet, but Justin Fields has taken over this fan base. He is the face of this franchise, and again,
yeah.
to Jonathan's credit, he told me like, yeah, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have said that. That was wrong. It's clearly Justin Fields. So speaking of Roquan,
Yes.
did you see Roquan on the field today?
I did. He actually walked out, from training, like, halfway through practice along with David Montgomery because he wasn't out there either for a long time. And he had a hat on, but he had his jersey on that said Smith on the back. I know afterwards, like, he, stopped and talked to fans and stuff like that, but he was on the sidelines during the, what's it called? Today was a long day, I'm so sorry.
That's fine.
Totally
But
understand.
he was standing on the
He was
side with the
there. Yeah.
defensive players and talking to Quinn and talking to everyone else, so I didn't get a chance to say hi to him and tell him to hurry up and sign. I was trying to do it telepathically
Yeah.
just in case. It may have gotten through. We'll see tomorrow.
Well, there's a lot of swirling stuff on Twitter about what's going on with Roquan. I mean, Lester and I haven't
Mhm,
talked about this on air much, but he made the decision to give information to Ian Rappaport. Rappaport put that out, so now Rappaport's basically serving as his mouthpiece, as these guys do at
mhm,
Rappaport and Schefter. They sort of, they become that for players, coaches, whatever, in exchange for access. And so he's being the mouthpiece through the national media for Roquan. Roquan saying he feels like he's being a little disrespected, and maybe not the best move for negotiating your contract, especially with the first time GM who's hasn't had the easiest first off season, and obviously going to see this as a test, as a challenge to what he's doing.
mhm.
Um, Lester, I'm curious what you think of all of the negotiation stuff. Like, hey, it's just business, or do you think Roquan might have overstepped here?
A little bit of both. I think at some point it was going to go into media. That's usually how these things go. The timing of it was kind of weird. He was still on the pup list. It seemed like the Bears were kind of doing him a solid, but letting him stay on the pup while they kind of figured things out. And then it just seemed like it kind of blindsided Ryan Poles, which is probably why he had an impromptu press conference, the same day. So it was kind of strange how the whole thing went down. And
Mhm.
I still think they're going to sign him. I think somehow, some way, they're going to figure it out. They both have to bend a little bit. They're not going to each get exactly what they want. Roquan's he's one of the top off-ball linebackers in the game. He's going to get his money. That's just how it is. So get him in camp, get him signed because, like we talked about a little while ago, he is the best player on the team.
I 100% agree. They should sign him. I think Roquan, because he doesn't have an agent, so he's getting information that would get filtered through an agent right now. So I can see, and he's still pretty young, even though he's been in the league for a little bit. This is like his first real thing. So I some naivety there a little bit. Sorry, Roquan. For when you watch this, obviously. But you know, because I agree with you. They were doing him a solid by putting him on the pup list. And I mean, who knows if they're gonna find him, but they can because he didn't practice. So
Yeah, I think it was a misstep but to try to play through the national media. And I think that he had a very brief moment where he had people behind him, right? Because he got to be the first mover. But Ryan Poles has a lot of power behind him, and he used it effectively. Like, he can call a press conference whenever he wants.
Yep.
And so he calls a press conference and he kind of lays it out. And I think you saw a big shift in how people saw this process after Ryan Poles stood up there and talked to the media. So I'm not sure. It's not necessarily about winning the hearts and minds of the fans, but if that's what Roquan was trying to do there, I don't think that he was very successful. And I think that Ryan Poles, honestly, like, he didn't draft him, and he's trying to, create whatever culture he's trying to create. And Roquan hasn't exactly had the cleanest off the field record lately. And so if he's trying to build a culture, he may have to make a tough decision that says Roquan's not part of the future. I'm not saying I agree with that or I want that or anything like that,
Mhm.
but I don't know that it's beyond the pale here for Ryan Poles to say, you know what, play on the 5th-year option, and we'll talk next year, and not make that big financial commitment for an off-ball linebacker in a state where maybe that's not the most important position. I think you'd rather give that money to a 3 technique, right?
Well, I think you nailed it, though. I mean, he is the 5th-year option. I mean, the Bears have all the cards here. They have the 5th-year option this year. If he doesn't play, then he just sits out. And then if the Bears have 2 years to franchise tag him, so the Bears hold all the cards. It was a misstep probably from his. He got some advice from someone. I'm sure that they said that go public at this point. It kind of backfired. So I think, but I do still think it's going to happen. They'll sign him, or he'll play, like I said, on the 5th-year option. He'll just kind of deal with it, and then he'll go out there and prove his worth, because he's a perfect fit for this defense. He's that will linebacker. His turnovers will shoot up a little bit. His tackles are going to shoot up a little bit. As long as he stays healthy, he's just perfect fit. So I think the money will be there for him one way or the other. I think the Bears and him would like to get it locked up and get it done now and not wait until 2023.
I was honestly hoping that I would open my phone when he walked out and they were like, "Oh yeah, done deal." They signed it.
He walks out with the contract in hand and
just
puts it up in the air.
Yeah. I'm sorry that my camera is wobbly. I'm at my in-laws. I'm on a bed and it's stacked on 2 Nike boxes. So that's my makeshift table.
I mean, true to form for a sneakerhead.
For a sneakerhead, exactly.
So Roquan could not be the top defensive player today because he wasn't practicing. But clearly, you saw a lot of good defensive performances today. Who sort of stood out to you as the top defensive player?
Well, I mean, Jalen Johnson did great. He knocked a couple passes out of the air, one intended for Mooney. He was really good. And then Houston Carson.
Houston Carson.
Houston Carson picked it off and ran it all the way for a touchdown. It was 100 and something yards. Absolutely just pick 6. That was off Peterman though. That wasn't off.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but that was really, I mean, the defense was hyped after that. So, I mean, that could have been where the tides turned and they ended up switching fields. So, no, I thought the defense played really, really well, especially like I said, that second half, some knocked passes down. But I don't know, the pick was really nice, but also Jalen Johnson did so good. I'm gonna split them.
Split them. That's fine.
Okay.
It's all good. There are no rules here on Bear and Balance.
Wonderful.
Split the vote. It's all good. Well, plus you mentioned there were no pads today, so it's kind of hard to see the defensive linemen. I mean, yeah, the pass rush was there, but it's not live, so it's not really fair to kind of give one of those guys your player of the day award. So it makes sense to go with a couple guys in the secondary.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm gonna try to remember who it was. Someone broke through the O-line towards the end of practice, and it would have been a sack. Fields would have been
Was it Kairos Tonga? I saw that Tonga got through big number 95.
Yes.
Yeah,
he did.
See, following Twitter, it feels like I was there.
Exactly.
I got all the highlights.
I agree.
Yeah, I saw the Bears media put out the DeAndre Houston Carson pick, and they had it as ABC DHC INT
Yes.
all together, and I was like, it's pretty clever. I like that, right? A little, they had a little slow mo, and Nathan Peterman, just the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, the defense is going to all pitch in money next camp to bring him back as the third camp arm. They're going to be like, hey, can we bring that guy back? He was great. We like that guy a lot. Well, I appreciate your insight, Brenda, throughout this, but I'm curious if you just have any other final thoughts, any sort of, what you enjoyed the most, or any kind of fun fan interactions, anybody that you met or anything like that.
There was a couple people there that I'm like tried to run into and I didn't see them. But I know they were there, and you didn't tell me your mom was there. I totally would have met your mom. I did have Joey come up to me and he was like, I know you from Twitter. And he was working there, so that was really neat. Shout out to Joey. But no, it was a great practice. It was so cool to see everyone. I was blown away at how I've never been that close to any of them, and I was right on the 50s. So that was an incredible experience that, I hope I get to do again sometime. But overall, it was amazing. It was amazing seeing all the players, and as a fan, just getting to soak all that like Bears stuff in.
I mean, that's definitely cool going to camp. I've had some people ask me, why do you go watch practice? I'm like, it's hard to explain, but like if you go to camp and you kind of, like you said, you experience it, the energy, everyone is there. I mean, it's just the hope of training camp. It's just so cool to see. So I tell them, just go. If you go to training camp, you'll understand, what's going on. I mean, if you're not a Bears fan, stay away. But I mean, if you love the Bears, go check out the practice, and it's free. It's pretty easily accessible. The ticket issue they had a year ago seemed to be fixed a little bit now, and there seems to be a much more a bigger fan base there. The energy's there, and it's just really neat to see. So definitely recommend.
And like you guys said earlier, I mean, it's Bears on both sides. So really, no matter what, defense has a good play, offense has a good play, everyone's excited. And really quick shout out to whatever the music was there. There was wonderful.
Lester knows all the songs. Like, he was tweeting out like what the songs were as we were going on. And I don't have that ability. And so he just like lean over and be like, oh, nice. And, mention like, whatever song it was. And I don't know I think we mentioned this on there, but at one point after we got falsely accused, there was a song that had like falsely accused lyrics in it. Like, it was very funny.
It was common. I forget the name of the title, but it was I actually tweeted it out. It was one of the common songs. It was, you were accused, that was the sample. And I'm like, JB, listen, we're playing the song just for us.
That's so funny. I was actually on the way from the hotel to Bears practice. I was only listening to Common. So
see?
Yeah.
There you go. All right, Brenda. Well, we really appreciate it. We're gonna end the podcast here. For those of you that are listening, really appreciate that. Check us out on Second City Gridiron sometime. Subscribe on YouTube. That would be fantastic. Lester and I are going to be back. I believe there's a game on Saturday, correct, Lester?
Saturday, yeah.
So we'll be here on Sunday to do our first Bear and Balanced of the season. So that's exciting, of the actual season. So we will get into the full categories there, and we will start our 20-game arc of the preseason plus regular season for Bear and Balanced. So that is amazing. We are at real football here very soon.
Yeah. I can't wait to get back on and talk to you guys when we win the Super Bowl. I mean,
yeah, we will book you out for 2025.
Come
on.
No.
Come on. It's not gonna be this year. Let's not go into the Hopium Den's over. We closed it out yesterday.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But check us out there, Lester. We've got plenty of stuff going on the site. I believe this is like the 5th podcast of the week, and that is just going to keep growing. Taylor has Clay Harbor on Making Monsters this week. Check that out. He's been at a lot of Bears practices.
He was there today.
And he was there today. Danny Meehan is on Bill's podcast. We're going to get Bears Over Beers cranked up at some point when I get EJ off of the bootleg stuff, and make sure you're checking out his stuff over at Bootleg. And yeah, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, 40 minutes even for the end.
Nice.
We got a couple questions or a couple comments.
Okay.
My mom says Quinn was doing good too. She
doing
loves
good.
Robert Quinn.
She does.
Yes.
She is Robert Quinn fan number 1. Calls him Mr. Quinn.
I love it.
Don again talks about this is what happens. Don comes in. I love it. Don comes in. He's got a Lions hat on. Detroit versus everybody. And then last time I gave him a hard time because every team thinks that. You're not special, guys. But I will say, Hard Knocks, very entertaining.
I haven't watched it yet. Brenda, have you seen it yet?
I haven't seen it yet. No, it's on my list. I might.
It's like it's the Lions, so I feel dirty watching it.
Oh no, don't.
Yeah. I'll watch it for sure. I always watch it, but it's like.
I feel like I should have tuned in to the one last year because it was the Colts, and that's my husband's team. And
that was the in-season one though.
Yeah,
and they were kind of a disaster during the season. So I mean, I guess that can be fun if you like train wrecks and stuff.
Wow.
But you know, so I mean, I'm not spoiling anything, you know, because it's been on Twitter and everything. But Dan Campbell's he is the meatballiest, you know, it's former player, like you know, just total like meatball kind of stuff. And he gets up there and okay, so here's my thing. He's coaching the Lions, right? The Lions, you know, a lion is a land-based animal, and it is the king of right. I mean, I've seen them. They just don't give an F, right? Like they own that. You know, I was in Africa, and they own it, right? Like they own the you know, the Serengeti, right?
They're
and he launches into a like weird like ocean-based metaphor, and then he's like, we will tread long enough to bury you, tread water long enough to bury. I'm like, I don't understand what he's saying, but I'm ready to go hit somebody.
But he was fired up though. That's all that matters. Yeah.
Like, it's so weird. There's like this weird football coach thing where they can kind of start doing this, and you just get this like, yeah, let's go. Yeah, let's go. I gotta stretch out. I gotta get down on my 3-point stance. See if I still got it. I got one hit left in me, Lester.
I will throw this out. My 12-year-old just started. He had football camp this past week and he's doing tackle football.
Okay.
So we're ready.
Is that 7th grade or 8th grade?
He is 7th grade.
Okay.
He's a little taller than me. He reminds me a lot. But right now he's wide receiver and cornerback because they play both. So there's a little fun tidbit.
That's gonna be fun.
I love it. The youth football stuff's great. I think it's fantastic. I was having a conversation with the head football coach of one of the high schools around here, and just, you know, it's kind of one of those things where you're like, yeah, it's kind of cool. I don't want to get like too fired up here. Talk about, you know, you just get those like old memories going. It was a lot of fun. But all right, Dunmaster Ken back in the comment section. Is the city of Chicago making a statement with the turf at Soldier Field, or is it a case of their usual groundskeeping incompetence? So Ken, I think you're asking, you know, is this a like Lori Lightfoot led initiative where they're trying to show terrible turf to punish the Bears for wanting to leave to build their own stadium at Arlington Heights? Also related, I tweeted out something about Roquan. Rappaport says something about Bears have a couple of things in Roquan's contract that he didn't like. So I said, like, what are those things? Wrong answers only. And a lot of people had like, Roquan has to be the groundskeeper at Soldier Field. That's what they try to put in the contract. And I thought that was really funny.
Really funny.
I mean, they held a concert there, right? Like
Yeah.
that was the issue, is that there was a big concert there and they
It
tore
was
up the
Elton
turf.
John. It was a big concert.
Of course they did, right? Like that's the problem that the Bears have been saying for a long time. Like, hey, you're maintaining this as a professional football field. You're using it as a multi-use stadium. This is not really conducive to the billion-dollar industry that we're trying to put a product onto. It just reinforces that they really just need to get their own place.
Yeah.
And Brenda, you are for a new stadium, correct?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I'm not from Chicago, and I've only been to Soldier Field once, and it was amazing, and I loved it. But yeah, no, the field is so bad. And to have something new, and to be able to fit more people, and I don't know, to be able to go to games when it's cold. 'Cause I'm not built for the cold, guys. I'm not gonna go if it's cold. It sucks. I'm gonna go when it's nice. Like all those things would be amazing. Although I don't know, would you do turf, or would you do like still the natural grass? I know a lot of players like they're half and half, which they like better.
I mean, you do turf if you can, but again, like you're restricting what you can do on it. Like you're not using it as a multi-use stadium. The other thing is, what kind of roof are you going to have on top? That would really kind of dictate what you can do with the turf. You got to have sunlight and all that. I know, like Arizona, like has the field where they can wheel it out,
Mhm.
and then wheel it back. That's not going to happen here. But they'll figure something out. I think the artificial turf has come a long way. I think it's probably fine. It's probably good enough.
Yeah.
Do you ever play on it, Lester, or were you did you
back
miss
when
that?
I played on AstroTurf.
Yeah. Okay.
So I
Yeah.
actually played before it was the field turf,
Yeah.
and it was like I still have a chip in my elbow that I can move around from AstroTurf. It was literally like playing with on concrete. It was the worst stuff I've ever seen in my life.
That
It was awful.
that sounds awful.
But I coached when I coached the kids. It was like we played on a bunch of field turf, and I'm like, this is so nice. It's like springy. It
It is
Yeah.
feels
springy,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, right. It's real nice. I mean, it's they've done a lot of stuff with it. So I used to be very anti-turf, but then I started realizing the technology, and it's like, yeah, this is nice here. And then of course the injuries, they're always trying to say which is better for the knees.
Right.
And I've seen reports that kind of go both ways, so it's it's hard to tell. I mean, is
Mhm.
it okay? Do your cleats stick in it? I mean, I don't think that happens like it used to. So at
Right.
the end of the day, you got to go what's safest for you, but also what's most cost efficient. I think these days, especially when I make it a multi-use stadium, it's got to be the field turf.
Right. I mean, I played on turf when I was in college because we did have a flag football game on the main field. And I mean,
Nice.
also I was a cheerleader, so I was on the turf doing halftime shows and stuff. But it was pretty cool. It's very springy, like you said. Um, I didn't have any injuries on the turf, but I know there are players that are trying to push back from that. So I was curious what you guys thought.
I mean, I only played one game on. I mean, I would have played in 1999 would have been my senior year, and then when I went to college, they had a turf field too. But I just remember it was. I mean, so it's been a long time ago. Like they've had advances. I just remember all the like little black specks
Mm,
that you'd have
yes,
sticking to
you
your.
get stuck.
That was weird. And then what I find really funny is that our in high school, the state championships are played at the Unidome, and
Mhm.
it was always this like big goal to get there, and it's like real crappy turf, right? It's like it's AstroTurf that's on like cement in the dome, and maybe they've replaced it now with something better. But like at the time, it was like the worst playing surface, but it was so cool to want to get there. And then I went there as a student and like got out on the field, and I was like, oh my god, I'm kind of glad I didn't play on this. Beat myself up on the cement
You know,
that's lightly
the,
padded.
the Unidome was my last game. That was my last. We played in
Oh,
we played in the RC Cola Bowl there, and I talked. It's AstroTurf back then. This is '89. Okay, I'm really old. So, but our one of our top linebackers on the first play of the game kickoff. This is back in the era where the dudes wore the half shirts.
oh, sure.
Mhm.
Head
Just
first, on the AstroTurf,
Oh, no.
ripped his belly off. I'm not even kidding. He ripped. He couldn't. The rest of the game he had to sit out. He was probably our best linebacker at the time, but you can't play if you have no skin on your stomach. He was done for the game. It was the field turf is so much different than AstroTurf.
Yeah,
it's just it's awful.
Like that's what Soldier Field used to be.
It was,
and that's like what Walter Payton played on his like entire career, I think. Like,
and he never sat out.
Oh my God.
So the amount of beating that his body took, and he had like the record for most games played as a Bear for a while, right? Like, I mean, I don't think he has it now, but I mean, he's up there. He's like top 3 still. So I mean, he played for a super long time, and he played in terrible stadium conditions.
Oh my God. Like all those plays of him like jumping over people have like a whole new connotation. Like, ow.
Yeah, it's basically cement, with a little pad on it, right?
Oh,
like a carpet pad that's been smushed down, and it's terrible. So all right, well, I think that's all the comments today. So we'll wrap up the live stream. Thanks for everybody for joining us on the live stream and for watching it later wherever you have. But and Ken says Unidome does have new AstroTurf as of 2017, which is much later than when I went there. I have not been there in a while, so appreciate that, Ken. So anyway, thanks everybody for joining us, and join us back here Sunday. We're really excited to kick off, and hopefully by then we can reveal a little bit of a surprise. So we'll see you then.